on the transition scene one more time to make sure that we are good. All right, so again, it does take about 30 seconds for the questions to, or for me to for what I'm saying now to actually get to you guys. So we're working through things right now. Again, it's always fun and interesting getting these things up and started. So just double checking everything right now. And looks like I'm getting some feedback here, which is always good. Means I can see myself live right now on YouTube, and I know I'm live on Facebook. So if you have any questions, this is what I'm here for right now. I'm here to answer your questions when it comes to scanning. So again, right now you can join us either on Facebook or on YouTube, and just let me know what's on your mind. So right now I have a couple of questions that actually came in on last month's video when we did this live that we weren't able to get to because the video was already over by the time these two questions came in. So I'll start by answering those questions first, and then we'll do a recap of what we had in the podcast over the last couple of weeks. So if you have any questions, feel free to definitely again put them in the comment section so I can see them. All right. So the first question that came in from Raymond, and he was asking, because I have a Radio Shack P197. I'm assuming it's a Pro 197. He's having problems with the P25 Series 1 living in Rhode Island. There are two towers which seem to cause distortion. Any help? So there really shouldn't be any problem with a Phase 1 type of system, but there could be some issues with simulcast. I know it's more of a problem with the Phase 2 kind of stuff. So what you'd want to do is you want to try to limit reception to only one tower is where you want to start with. So when you go the best way to describe it is where it used to be you wanted to have the highest antenna, the best antenna, the most amount of gain, the least amount of loss when it came to coax. You wanted to bring in all of the RF you could. When it comes to simulcast, you want to eliminate as much as you can. It's kind of retraining your brain on how things should work. And what you're really looking to do then is do whatever it takes to limit whatever comes into your scanner. So if that means taking off the outdoor antenna and just going with a set top antenna or turning on the attenuator, what you really want to do is you want to just try and get just your local or closest transmitter site. Now, sometimes picking up the closest site isn't the best thing to do either. Sometimes you may want to invest in a Yagi antenna, which is a directional antenna, and then point that at another site that maybe you can suppress the local sites with the side lobe on your Yagi antenna. So this is what kind of makes the hobby fun again, a little bit interesting, and also a little bit of a pain in the neck. So for those of you who are having issues with simulcast, yeah, I really do feel your pain. There are ways around this too that you can easily do. You can always try using a USB dongle, a SDR. And again, I do have a training class coming out. I'm actually going to start recording it again this weekend, and it should go live hopefully in the next 2 months or so. But I did this training class live. I did it last year and had quite a few students in there. And we went through basically plugging in the hardware, setting it up, getting you going with SDR Sharp, getting you going with another piece of software that slips my mind right now. And then we went into Unitrunker and also DSD Plus, and finally DSD Plus Fastlane, and went through how to set these $30 receivers up so that you can use it to monitor a trunk system, both analog and P25 as well as DMR. So that was always cool to do. And it's $30 for the dongle. So if you want more information on this, what I'm going to do right here in the chat box, I'm going to put a post in here. So I'm going to do for the SDR dongle, SDR receiver. Take a look at scannerschool.com/newelec. All right, so scannerschool.com/newelec, and that's the receivers that I use. And again, that's an affiliate link. So it looks like it didn't go out over Facebook for some reason. Internal error. Beautiful. So let's see if I can do it from Facebook. www.scannerschool.com/newelec. So hopefully that one's going to give me a checkbox in a second here. It's got a little zero. Checkbox. Here we go. A price is just a simple $60 dual-core Inspiron I bought used, 2 V3 RTL SDRs and $50 dongles and $20 in DSD Plus Fastlane or free Unitrunker 2. It's $135. that is quite capable and better than the top tier scanners. Yeah, so Glenn, that's kind of what I was just talking on here. And again, it takes more legwork to get something like this set up. So you're going to pay for your investment in time. But again, this is why I'm putting the training course together to show you don't need a $600 radio to do the work here. And the sky is the limit when it starts to become with these SDR dongles. So yes, the RTL SDR V3 is great. Also, the New Elect dongle I recommended earlier before. All right, so we got a couple questions coming in. Andrew Phillips is saying, would I follow him on Instagram? Sure. Do you follow me on Instagram, though, Andrew? You can always follow me on Instagram at scanner_school. Scanner School is one word was already taken by a model who I guess was just squat on the name, but it's scanner_school is... Was it? No, that's not Twitter. It's underscore. It's just straight out. Just do this. Just do scannerschool.com/Instagram. That'll take you right to our Instagram page. And Andrew, I'll take a look at your Instagram and see if it's worthy of giving you a follow. So if anybody looking out there, it's Cowboy Andrew. All right. Nate the Robot is asking, hi, Phil, in your opinion, what are some bands to scan? I'm currently trying to find some new things to listen to. Nate, it all depends. Where do you live? Are you in the U.S., you in Canada, North America? Are you over in the U.K., Australia? It all really depends on where you are as to what bands you'd like to listen to. Let's summarize the bands, though, based on what their uses are as opposed to what the actual frequencies are. So we'll see how that works. I'm actually just looking right here through on the Facebook link. And okay, looks like they both went out on Facebook. Very good. Kevin Lee, I'm also seeing that. You said that as well. So cool. All right. And just double checking right here on looks like YouTube. Okay, there's the chat box over there on YouTube. Gotcha. All right. So go back to your questions. You live in the U.S. in Kentucky. Okay, great, Nate. Thanks. My rambling here kind of helped us out just a little bit there. So some bands you may want to take a listen to. Well, you can always go with amateur radio, depending on how much you like to listen to, because a lot of amateur operators do like to talk. And what I normally say is we have a button on the side of the radio called the push to talk button, right? You push it in, you talk. It's also a RTL button, or a release to listen. Not many amateur operators understand that that is a dual purpose button, and they are allowed to stop talking and are allowed to listen. So if you're looking for the amateur radio bands, there's several you can listen to right from your handheld receiver. You can do the 2-meter band, which is from 144 to about 148. And then you want to probably listen to the 70 centimeter band, which is 440 to 449, 975, something like that. So just do 440 to 450. That'll get you the amateur radio band. Now, the CB band is even lower than that, though. I don't know how much you can hear on there. It's about 27, 28 megahertz. And then 10 meter ham radio is 29 megahertz. I don't know how much you're going to hear on 6 meters, but that's a good start. Now, again, as far as anything else goes, at least in my neck of the woods, if you listen between 450 and 470, you are going to hear tons of businesses, public safety, you'll hear fire departments, you'll hear a ton of activity in there. If you live near a strip mall, especially go in the 450, 460 range, that's a lot of businesses are set up in there. If you live close to an airport, always try giving aviation a listen. Again, that's from 116, 117, probably a little bit lower than that, all the way up to about 125-ish, I believe it is. But these are all banks that are already set up in your scanner. Most scanners already have them set up. Even this, I started playing around here with the Uniden SR30C, and I don't have my overhead camera set up. I was kind of still playing around with the new setup over here. But I am playing around with this, and it even also has in it a built-in service search. So I don't know if it's going to be able to show up on the camera here. Actually, if I can come back over to this one here, the light. But you can see it's scanning through already. So you can come in here and set up the search banks that you want to listen to already. So again, I got the amateur 6-meter band in here. So I got dead batteries, but there's also there's the business band and public safety in here too. You can always see how nice and sharp this screen is. One of the things I like about this little cheap radio is the way that the screen is really nice and crisp. So that's a bonus on there as well. But then the batteries just died. So there we go. So next test on this one, next evaluation is to see how well the batteries last on it. So it does not come with batteries, but I am using a set of Tenergy batteries in the scanners. I like using Tenergy batteries in my scanners, or Nuelec. Not Nuelec. Eneloop has good sets of batteries too. Here's one cell I got here that's seen better days, but you can't really see it. It takes my word. Eneloop is what it says on the side of it. All right. So hopefully that answered your question. Again, your locations may vary, but that's where I would look as far as anything. Charles Nolan, my recommendations: if you are into SDR in the Metro New York area, I recommend an FM Trapper FM broadcast blocker. Yeah, Charles, I actually want to reach out and talk to you. I've been having you on my to-do list for a while and want to reach out to you, but I would like to pick your brain for a while, maybe get you on the podcast to talk about your portable setup when it comes to solar. So if you're up for that, let me know. I'd love to have you on as a guest and talk about your setup. I'm always very impressed as to how you work with that with your beach. I guess you call it your beach kit. So it's always really cool. But yeah, you could. Definitely an FM trap, a broadcast blocker couldn't hurt. Right now, I'm not running anything over here, but I'm not exactly really super close to anything that would be knocking anything out right now. Although I do know a coworker of mine. He actually is staying in a place that's across from a cell site, and he could not pick up the neighboring county's 800 megahertz system. The reason for that was he was, probably 100 plus feet, a building away from a cell site, so it was just killing his 800. So he built his own little notch filter. I think it's notch filter, and he was able to block out the 800 megahertz cell band, and then boom, it brought his radio back into perfect working condition for the 800 system on his neighboring county. So that was, these filters definitely work very well. Dan is asking, Phil, have you mastered the filter settings on the SDS 100-200 yet? Okay, so the filter settings on the SDS 100 and the SDS 200, these are definitely unique to every situation that you are. It's going to be personalized basically for your area, basically. So there's a couple of settings. There's a high pass filter, a low pass filter, basically, and I forget what the other one is. So one is invert, one is whatever, but it's a high pass, it's a low pass. And then I forget what the third option is on that one. But it's going to change based on basically what it is that you are and where you're listening to. So what works for me over here may not work good for you or may work well for you. So you kind of just have to play around with it on your own. And if you're interested, though, I do have this Remtronics antenna on right now. I'm playing around with it. It works really well. And what I like about it is that it does have if I put it right in my forehead, maybe it'll focus in on it. But it's got the O-ring on it. So the original antenna has this O-ring on here. I guess you really can't see, but what I was really hoping was that this antenna, the Remtronics, was going to have the black part going all the way down to where the metal is, but it doesn't. I wish it kind of looked more like the original one. But what ends up happening is this is one of the only antennas out there that will sit in this little recessed gap here. My other antennas, unless you modify them or use the BNC adapter, they're not going to work. So I've been playing around with this little Remtronics antenna. It's pretty flexible, and it's working really good for 800. So I'm very happy with testing out this antenna over here. So we'll talk more about that later on. Let's see what else we got here coming in. Kevin's asking, recently just got the SDS 100. So far I love it, but I have had a frequency in which is on the Wisconsin interoperability site that I can set priority to, but when I scan priority, it states no priority channel. Okay, so let's see. When you have frequency in the Wisconsin interoperability site, Kevin, is that a channel in the trunk system, or is it conventional? And I'm asking that for a specific reason, and let me just get back to Charles really quick. Charles, I'm actually going to ask you to hit me up on my calendar if you don't mind. I'm going to put a link on here anyway for everybody else that's interested. I think it is just this. Let me see here. My computer likes to bog down now that I got a lot. And I've got a Windows machine sitting right next to me right here that I thought would work really well, but it just seems to not really want to do. So, excuse me. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold over here, guys. Wow, this page is actually broken now. Beautiful. Used to be podcast guest, but it's not anymore. It looks like it wants to 404. So I'll fix this in a little bit. But if you want to be a guest on a podcast, scannerschool.com/guest is your best way to do it. And I'll get that fixed in a little bit. I don't know why it's broken, but it shouldn't be. All right. So Kevin's saying again, yes, it is trunk, but it has the conventional also. Okay, so here's the deal when it comes to priority scanning with a trunk system. It doesn't work well. All right, it doesn't work well at all. What's going to have to happen is that the system is going to have that trunk ID set up as an actual priority ID, and the system going to have to alert that, hey, you have activity on this talk group. The scanner is not going to be able to monitor a voice channel and the control channel at the same time. So it would actually have no idea that your priority talk group is actually in use, okay? There's no other way around it when it comes to scanning it with a receiver. This is where, excuse me again. I've been fighting this cold, and it's just now I don't have any water down here either. But this is where like Unitrunker and DST Plus really shines, because what ends up happening is if you have DST Plus, now again, I wish my Windows computer here was actually working because I can bring it up right now, but you can have one USB stick, one receiver monitoring the control channel. This way you don't miss anything. Then you've got a second receiver, and that's your voice traffic, right? And that was the one that's following. So it's basically you've got a computer set up as a scanner. Now, if your priority, if your priority talk group is activated, the receiver that's monitoring the control channel knows that, and then it will tell the voice radio, "Hey, you got to go over here now, because we've set this talk group as a priority." Now, what's really nice about this is you can set multiple priority tiers. So you can say maybe you have like a priority list of like 1 to 10, and then maybe you'd have like, I don't know, OEM groups from like 10 to 20, then 20 to 30, 40 to 50. So you can start really building a priority list of talk groups in there. So that's really, where software-defined radios or using software to monitor a trunk system really shines beyond and above a scanner. Now, the second way around this, of course, is just dedicate a scanner to just that one priority talk group, which can be pretty expensive, to be honest with you, depending on what it is. If it's a phase 2 system or if you have simulcast issues, that would be a problem. So, it's the only solution there would be that. Now, when it comes to saying you have conventional also, so what you want to make sure is that not only hopefully I got batteries in here, but you're going to want to go into the system and go down into the channel and set that channel for priority, okay? And then what you've got to do is then, it's a multi-step process, and it's really escaping right now, but you've got to not only set the frequency as priority, but then you've also got to turn on priority scan. And then there's another step. I think you need to set the actual group up to have or priority somewhere else also. I think it's a 3-step process. But it's always worked well for me in conventional, but never well at all on trunking, which is, again, like I was saying before, a real reason why you'd want to have software set up to do that as well. So that's that. Nate the Robot, along with using Zello to take SDR portable or an app or program called TeamViewer allows you to control your PC from a separate laptop or phone, and it works great. Yeah, Nate, it actually really does. And I'm going to be actually doing a podcast on how to set up Zello. Definitely thank you for talking to me about that before. I know you're using that right now, which is really good. If you don't have TeamViewer, I've been using now. Google has got a nice Chrome remote desktop. So TeamViewer, I'll give you a little story here. I've been using TeamViewer at my desk here to talk to my other computer that's about 25 feet that way. And I'd log into it every night. I'd do some work on it. And eventually TeamViewer goes, hey, you're using this commercially. Well, I'm not. I'm just sitting here at my Mac, logging into my Windows computer that's across the room, and just doing things. And while I was waiting to fight that fight, I eventually to TeamViewer, and all you need is really a Google account to do that as well. So that would work. But let's see what we got here. We got about 7 minutes before the end of tonight's session. I know we are fighting with the State of the Union address here in the United States. So we don't have really too much activity tonight. But I remind you all, too, that I do answer your questions once a month on the podcast. So you go to scannerschool.com/ask, and you can submit questions that way, and I do answer them once a month on the podcast. So I have today's podcast is basically the exact same thing. And if you ask me a question via our phone number or SpeakPipe, then you're running for a free consulting call or free tutoring session, which is basically me and you sitting down for an hour over Skype or Zoom, where I basically am virtually sitting next to you, and we go through any type of issues you may have, or just any general help. Now, I see Joseph Messina is in the chat right now, and actually Joseph did hire me for a consulting session. We set up his SDS 100. So what's he saying here is that, let's see, he loves his SDS 100 and had a question about the virtual control in ARC 536. He had trouble opening the port and device manager on Windows 10, and then had to get the SDS to see on the virtual display, but eventually he got it to work. So excellent. Glad to hear, Joseph, you got that to work. It's kind of like where we left off when I did my virtual session with Joseph. He basically just got the brand new SDS 100, and I uploaded a bunch of files to his computer. We were using Zoom, and actually gave him a recording too of the file, so he can actually go back and play our tutoring session again, so he can keep that updated in his mind as to what steps we went through in Sentinel and how we updated his software and how we went through and updated the scan banks and everything else. So it definitely is a good session to do. So let's see, Kenneth Fowler, I'm here for the party. Excellent, Kenneth. Make sure too that you stick around for the after party. So that's for your Patreon supporters out there. Anybody at the $5 Patreon level will have their own private Q&A session with me following this. And again, you can help us out by going to scannerschool.com/support. If you sign up right now with Patreon, you will get the link immediately on how to join us for our secondary Q&A session, which runs from the bottom of the hour to the top of the next hour. So for the next 30 minutes, as long as my voice holds up. All right, so we got Scott is saying, Phil, I found a new frequency, 173.0625 using close call. Excellent. My SDS 100 recorded voice and display shows how it's a P25 system. Subaudible is a NAC 200. If this is a P25 system, how do I find the control channel? Oof, good question, Scott. This one's going to be a little bit difficult because it probably is federal. Really quick here, Kevin, you can go to scannerschool.com/consulting. Hopefully that link works. Let me just make sure I get this question answered, and then I'll get back over to you really quick. Scott, scanner. And that 404 is also. All right. I will get these links fixed immediately, guys. I know what the problem is. I just really need to come in here and just do an update on my permalinks. So I'm going to click that button right now. So save changes. And we did that. So now when I click on scannerschool.com/consulting, it should work. There we go. And then the earlier link, too, if you guys want to be a guest, scannerschool.com/guest. That'll work as well. And again, I'm only posting these over on Facebook now. That's not good. So let's see, scannerschool.com/guest and then consulting. All right. Let's see. I'm going to run through these questions really fast. So how do you find a control channel? You have to look around. It will be in the neighborhood. If it truly is a trunk system, you'll find it, I would say, within 2 or 3 megahertz up or down. And if it's a 3.0625 as a close call, that probably means that you hear a repeater. That's the other question. Were you hearing both sides of the conversation or just one? If you only heard one side, that'd be a transmitting side. Try adding 3 megahertz from there to be or 3, either add or subtract 3 megahertz to 5 megahertz to see if you can find the other side of that conversation. But yeah, you're going to have to hunt around for this one just a little bit. Again, if it was a repeater, you're spot on. If you heard both sides, you're done. It was a repeater. It was a trunk system, again, where you're just hearing the voice radio. If you're hearing the voice radio, you should be hearing the control channel. If it was a trunk system, you're probably only hearing the input frequency because it was a unit that was close to you. Again, add or subtract 3 from there to get the actual trunk frequency output. And then work backwards from there, I would say, in about 3 megahertz either side of there to see if you can find the control channel. And that's how I would go through it. Looking to get Hubert is saying, looking to get a digital scanner to pick up police and trunk channels. Hubert, it really all depends if you need P25 Phase 1, Phase 2. Right now, I would recommend, if you're looking for a handheld, I would go with either the BCD 325 P2. This is a really good Phase 1 P25 scanner if you don't have to worry about simulcast. If you have to worry about simulcast, though, you are looking at, I misplaced it, my SDS 100. This is going to get you through basically anything. If you want to stay in the Home Patrol platform, though, you can always go with the BCD 436 HP. So those will be good for you as well. I recommend purchasing from Scanner Master. That's where I make all my purchases from. And again, scannerschool.com/scannermaster is where our affiliate link is. So with that, hopefully I've answered all your questions. It's now 9:30 here local time, which means I am going to now swap over and do a private one-on-one session for my Patreon supporters. So let me just click on this link over here and do a little quick transition. This way I leave you guys the correct way, so just ditching out of here. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in and watching the session. If you guys are watching a replay of this one, please don't be offended if I didn't answer your question. What I will do is come back and I'll answer your questions that came in late when I looked at the comments. I'll either go through this month and go through them, or I'll answer them right away when we start off next month's Q&A session on Facebook and YouTube. But again, you can always ask me online, scannerschool.com/ask, where I answer all of your questions on the first Tuesday of the month in the podcast. So don't wait. Ask me right now, scannerschool.com/ask. If you use our local number, which is 516-308-2885, or SpeakPipe, which is basically like a voicemail that you can use over your computer, you get to the top of the list. I will answer your questions on the very next session of Ask Scanner School, which will be the first week of March. So again, don't wait. Do it now, because I do record these podcasts in advance, and I can't answer your questions if I don't have them. All right, guys. With that, I will catch you all again next month on the live. And Kenneth, the other session will start in just a minute. I got to end this one first, and then you'll see the other one come on. All right, guys. 73. Catch you all again next month. Kenneth, I'll catch you in the after party. 73.